Hi, it's Jackie Tantillo, host of Should Have Listened to My Mother podcast. Are you who you are today because of or in spite of your mother? I've come to understand and appreciate the significant role that mothers play in our lives. Not everyone was best suited to become a mom, but by sharing these personal experiences, we come to realize how much we have in common with each other. With over 4 decades of broadcast experience, interviewing iconic musicians, award-winning authors and journalists, entrepreneurs, artists, and more, these personal one-on-one conversations really get to the heart of the matter, to explore the essence of how, who, and why we became who we are today. I can't wait for you to hear this next episode. I'm excited to celebrate 2025 with Season 6 of Should Have Listened to My Mother. We have wonderful guests lined up with compelling stories, and I can't wait to share these weekly motherly conversations with guests from around the world. And perhaps you feel that your mother was atrocious and she ruined your life. Well, my guest suggests you thank your mother for all the gifts she gave you. Judy will shed new light on that topic in a few minutes. Please keep in mind that you can listen to Should Have Listened to My Mother wherever you find podcasts, including YouTube, and please review, subscribe, share whenever possible. My guest is originally from South Africa, and she experienced a traumatic event at a young age. Judy Wilkins Smith is a family patterns expert, systemic coach and trainer. She works in Systemic Work and Constellations, as well as a trainer for Fortune 500 executives, their teams, heads of state, legacy, families, and anyone who wants to change their life. She's also taught in South Africa, England, Mexico, Canada, Sweden, Denmark, and more, and she gives lectures around the world. Judy says she stumbled into the field of human potential and transformation and family and organizational constellations. She originally had a medical background, but she strongly believes that if we analyze our family history and family patterns, we can create our future. She's also created a meditation of the mother and a meditation of the father, and they can be found on her website, judywilkinssmith.com. Hi, Judy, and welcome to Should Have Listened to My Mother.
Hi, Jackie. It's lovely to be with you.
I don't know where to begin because when I first found you, I can't remember how I came across you, but from what I researched and read, I was like, that is fascinating. And I so believe in that transformation that can happen. And I don't know if the whole world knows about it. So that's what we're going to have a chit chat with the world today.
Absolutely.
And spread the word. Now, Judy, on her time off, which is not much, I'm sure.
No, it's not.
In 2023, she released the book Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint. In 2024, it was The Hidden Power in Your DNA, and she already has a book that's going to be coming out this year in 2025. So there's a lot to uncover. But first, I would love to hear a little bit about your mom, Shirley, and your experience, because your family was beginning to immigrate from South Africa, correct?
Yeah, so Mom, I don't have the typical, gee, I hate my mother.
Yeah.
I have exactly the opposite. I had a mom and dad, but let's stay with Mom, who always felt safe and secure. And I tell people, they taught me that there is so much magic in strict but loving. I never felt like it was so strict that I couldn't breathe. But I knew what boundaries were, and I knew what discipline looked like in terms of not just outward but inward discipline. How did I learn to be a me? I remember her always saying to me, and it's something that I still do. She's still around, but I still do. And that is, if you're going to do something, do it properly or don't bother. And if you're going to do something, do it properly or don't bother. Yeah. Because if you're going to do it, I think what she was saying, and I think what I picked up anyway for me, was there's a whole lot of magic in doing something really, really well to the best of your capability. Investing yourself and investing in yourself through that process. And it makes soul magic. And I think that was something that I learned from her.
Soul magic. I like that.
Yeah, I can remember, as a kid, we didn't have much. I didn't know that, but we didn't have much. But she would be doing the washing, the drying, the cleaning, whatever it was. And she would say, to keep us sort of out of her way, but to keep us where she could see us, she would put my sister and I in a big wheelbarrow. And she would give us a whole picnic. So this big wheelbarrow, and it was lined out with a blanket, and each of us would have cookies and cool drink and sodas and books to read, and we thought we had the best time ever.
That's great. That's
because
fantastic.
She made everything magic. She just knew how. I will also tell you my favorite story about her very quickly, which was I think I had graduated from school, and I was talking about a girl in our class who, when I was in about 5th grade, we played tennis, and I was in the tennis team. And as a kid, you don't sort of really recognize what's going on around you much. And we all had these white dresses that we would wear, except for one girl. And she wore her school uniform. We didn't realize it was because they didn't have any money, because we didn't talk much about money. But at any rate, the one day she comes to school and she says, okay, who was it? And we're going, who was what? And she says, never mind, I'll show you when we play our tennis match. And out she comes in this gorgeous white dress. And I was telling my mom that story and how much it impacted me. And she blushed. And I went, wait, what? And she said, well, I knew she didn't have, so I saved up my pennies. And when I had enough, I bought material and I looked at her size and then I created one. I've never forgotten that. She's never stopped making magic. People still walk in and go, she's amazing, and she hasn't even opened her mouth yet.
Wow. What's great is that the experience in the wheelbarrow with all the fun little things in there with you, it enabled your imagination to grow. And I remember that. I mean, my mom was big on wooden cooking spoons and things when we were babies. And then I passed that tradition on to my boys with pots sitting on the floor, and they would explore things. But it's using the imagination, and some of the imagination of children is disappearing, because it's often an electronic device placed in front of them, and that's what is upsetting to me.
It is, and we've got to teach children to imagine, because I think what we keep missing is that the imagination is the soul magic that creates the magic that is the world. We've got to be aware of that. Otherwise, we're going to create a very sterile world. Where we have the opportunity to create a very magical, amazing, wonderful to live in world. And which do we want?
So let's go back a little bit, because you left South Africa at what age?
Oh, no, I left South Africa as an adult. I came over, and actually the traumatic experience you're talking about was I came over, we had moved to Texas, and then my father was killed in a hospital, and he was killed by medicine. And he was failed in all of the disciplines that I had been versed in. And so it was really a complete shutting of the door. It was like, you don't belong here anymore.
So you were an adult when your father passed?
Yeah, I was an adult.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize for that.
Yeah. And I will tell you, probably not much less traumatic than if you're a child, although I don't know. But interestingly enough, my daughter is my adopted daughter. Could not be more like me if she tried. People all spot her from a mile away and go, you're Judy's daughter, or they'll say, oh, that's your mom, your daughter to me. And she was the one who at 4 years old lost her mom, her bio mom. And the interesting thing with her is that she decided at 4 she was going to become a doctor, because she didn't want any other daughter to ever have to go through that. And that was her whole sole purpose for becoming a doctor. Fast forward, by the way, and as a doctor, she says to me, I think you should go in and have sonography done on your gallbladder just to check that there's nothing. And they say there is something. And they take it out. And the doctor says to me, had you have come 3 months later, it would have been a very different story. We could have had something really ugly. And she was sitting on the end of my bed. We were sitting talking, and she burst into tears. And I said to her, what's going on? I mean, I'm fine. We're good. Is there something I don't know? And she said, no, Mom. I suddenly realized that the daughter I was saving from losing another mother was me.
Wow. I'd mentioned that we were going to have really wonderful conversations in this episode, but this is pretty magical.
Yeah.
So you are commended as a mom, which is always important. It's a hard job, but you were wonderful. You adopted this little girl.
I think it was mutual. I think we're equally kind of there. I mean, we had hard times together. We sat on floors and yelled at each other at stages because she'd lost her mom. And I had to get that. And we really did. I can remember dropping the only bottle of jelly that we had, spraying all my perfume out, and I'm telling all the secrets, pulling out my favorite flowers. But we really, really got there. And people often look at us and they say, there are very, very few people ever who have a relationship like the two of you have. And in fact, it's the three of us, because my mom is there. There are very few people. We have each other's backs and hearts so solidly.
So what of being a mom did you learn from your mother?
I think kindness, number one, magic. But I want to go back to the kindness and the magic. I can't tell you the number of times living in South Africa that I came home, it was quite normal, to find somebody sitting at the back door eating a meal that mom had prepared for them, because they'd walk past, and I swear it was like somebody wrote, come in here, we have a meal. People would walk past, they were hungry, and they would knock on the door. Mom would cook them a meal. And so it was always be kind. You have no idea what somebody's going through. And that goes back to my grandmother, who was exactly the same. So I have a legacy of women like that. They were always so kind to everybody. They were kind. They were disciplined, but they were so kind.
So your mom was born and raised in South Africa?
Yep.
And your maternal grandmother as well?
And my maternal grandmother, her parents came from Germany, and I never learned to speak German because at the time that was dangerous. Way back when. They still lived in the it's dangerous to speak German era, and so they would never teach their kids. Yeah. So my mom never learned, but then I never learned from my mom how to speak the Xhosa language that she did. And I speak 3 languages too. So each woman has also had the pattern of, not 3 languages, 2 languages. Each woman has had the pattern of 2 languages. We don't just speak ours, we speak the language of another.
Wow. And your daughter is the same. She speaks.
My daughter speaks one, but understands 2. And actually, that's not true now that you just said that. She does speak 2. She understands a 3rd, but she speaks 2 because she speaks Spanish.
And I bet that comes in very useful.
Oh, it comes in super useful. A second language comes in very useful when you want to say something that you really shouldn't, and you can say it with a straight face.
But you have to be careful that no one knows what you're saying.
I've had that. I've done that once, and somebody behind me said, I'm from South Africa too, and I went, oh dear.
Oh my gosh, we are all human, right? So tell me first, your mom, did she have siblings?
She did. She still has. Okay. She has so again, interesting in the way family patterns play out. She had has an older sister, and she had a younger brother and lost the younger brother. And in our family, we have in my niece's line, in other words, my sister's line, she had two daughters and a son and lost a son. And so and it goes back. There are patterns of the loss of a son. And so boys are very, very special in our family and very carefully treated because we are aware that we don't want that pattern to repeat.
Any idea when you were growing up and experiencing all this, even as a young adult, that this would transform into your future, your occupation and the teachings that you did?
No, I knew that I always understood people differently and I could see their potential way before they could, if they even could. But what was really intriguing, if you want to go full circle again, I'd been doing this work for about 5 or 6 years and somebody said to me, well, of course you'd be good at it. And I went, why? And they said, well, it comes from South Africa and it comes from the Zulu tribe. And I was not aware of that. And it comes from the Zulu tribe. They go back into their generations to see which of the generations has not been balanced or where there is something that's off and how they are representing it. But the full circle moment is, for me, when I heard that, I went, oh, when I left South Africa and I left my place of work, the person who gave my farewell speech was a Zulu gentleman. And he said to me, you may be leaving us, but you will find a way to represent us in the world. And I laughed.
And to come back.
And here I am. Like, okay.
You know, some people are open to these experiences, and we're going to get into this more in a little bit. But some people don't know how to open that box and experience what unfolds, right? They get stuck in the negative, or they get stuck where they are and they don't want to change their pattern. They don't want to even think of possibilities of changing the footsteps of the people that came before them.
They don't, because there's an unconscious loyalty to those patterns. It's only when they begin to realize that that pattern is asking to become more.
It's presenting itself to specifically to be able to spread its wings.
Exactly. It's presenting itself as a problem because as it is, it's outlived its use.
See, that's so great. So everybody, oh my gosh, I know some people that could really use this. So I'm glad we're going to be able to share this. Complete this sentence, please. This is a story of a woman who...
This is a story of a woman who knew how to be a mom on so many levels, had courage like I probably haven't seen in my lifetime, knew how to be an incredible wife, knew how to grow a husband, knew how to be an amazing grandmother to so many who I would have said, had she not stepped into their lives in one capacity or another, would have classed themselves as broken human beings and wound up being phenomenal human beings because she was there.
Does she feel that she is phenomenal?
No. Oh, no. And if I could, no. If you say to her, you're remarkable, she says, I'm very normal, I'm very human, and I'm not that smart. And I could take her and shake her because she has no idea of all of the souls and the lives that she's touched. And she does it effortlessly.
And she has lost a number of people in her life that she loved.
Yeah. My dad, of course, being the major one. Yeah.
So how did she express her loss? Did she share that with you as her daughter, or did she keep it to herself?
With my dad, it was so traumatic, and it was so, I guess, just traumatic and bad that she folded. It was the first time I'd seen her fold. But in her folding and dropping, that was when it was my turn to step up. She's since gotten back to a whole lot of that, but it had a large effect. I think it shook her optimism to the core.
Because of all the things that she had believed in, including medicine, or she felt that they had a long life together, or...
She had hoped they'd have a long life together, and she was, by profession, she was a nurse, and it failed her and it failed
Oh,
me. So, I mean, it was just super ugly. And then I think what it re-triggered for her was her brother that she lost was also lost in a hospital, and so was her father. So we had 3 generations of men who were lost in hospitals, which was not a great thing for medicine. And I would say that for me, I stepped back and wanted nothing to do with medicine and really grew to have a mistrust of medicine. And then, of course, what happens? The universe is elegant. And along comes my daughter, who is the antidote because she is a physician. It's pretty amazing.
talk about changing the pattern.
Talk about changing the pattern. Yeah.
Okay, so your mom, what does your mom like to do for fun?
Fun is something that she's only rediscovering because 3 years ago we started a 2-year cancer journey that was
Oh my
rough.
gosh.
It was super rough. If you look at how it had gotten to be the cancer journey, people will say there are all sorts of things, but one of the things was she'd bottled a lot, she'd not spoken about a lot, and that can wreak havoc on the body. But we went through that, and she doesn't remember a lot of it, thank goodness, because it was bad. And she forgot a lot about fun, and then along came a great niece and a great nephew. No, great for me, a great niece and great nephew. For her, 3 great grandchildren. And I think some of that's given her a little bit of the fun back, although she will say, my goodness, these mothers need to learn how to say no.
But you know what? They're not our kids. They're someone else's children, so they get to do what they want.
I say they're not our kids, and it takes a village. And I'm part of the village. For
Right.
me, it's really easy. I wear glasses, as you see, and all I do is I just pull them slightly forward and I look at them, and everything's dark.
You see, you just got to find that unique magic.
You just got to find the look.
Oh, that's very fun. Yeah, especially holiday time when people are together and it's busy. It is
Oh,
busy,
it's
busy.
super busy,
Yeah.
super busy. But there is a lot of magic, and I think magic is where I want to stay invested. That was the magic of growing up in the home that I did. Magic was something that I grew up reading about, grew up believing in, and never outgrew.
Did your mom sit with you and say, oh, this is a good book? Or would she just put a couple of pieces of paper and pencil and crayons and semi create something and let you take off running with the idea?
Dad was the book. Dad was the book. I started reading by the time I was about 4. But that was Dad. He was the avid, avid, avid. Mom was the here you go. Here's what's in the garden. What are you going to make from that? Which made me use my imagination. So I had magic that I was reading about, and then what could I do with what I had? Mom was also a master gardener, and so I think she was the one who quite inadvertently taught me about money, and Dad taught me a lot about money. But with Mom, you have canna lilies, and they have those little round seeds. And I can remember being about 3.5 or 4, and one of them popped open, and all these little seeds were there. And I picked them up, and I got I had the insight right then that if I picked up all of those and gave them to Mom, and she planted those could make others, which could do more, and we could have this whole field of canna lilies. But that translated into understanding money later on. It was, if you plant it, you can grow it. If you grow it, you can multiply it. If you multiply it, you can bring great beauty with that. So it began there.
Pretty amazing, those things that we sometimes take for granted, right? Work being out in nature, in the garden, and even, these teachers, a future guest of mine has created this portable woodworking shop, basically to return back to the middle schools and high schools. And kids will learn math by using a tape measure and measuring 1/4 inches, 1/8 of an inch, and instead of sitting down and just
Exactly.
reading a book. And they're using their imagination and they're creating something and they're engaged.
That's the important thing. They're creating something. We've got to teach people how important it is to create your something. It's so important.
You are busy. I've mentioned that a number of times. And I think you were not toward the end of 24, weren't you down in Disney in Florida?
Oh, my favorite place in the world.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that so people get an
Okay.
idea of what you talk about.
So once a year, I go down to Disney and I teach there for 4 days. I do a deep dive into whatever DNA it's going to be because my specialty is emotional DNA. You don't just inherit physical DNA, you also inherit emotional DNA, your patterns of thoughts, feelings, actions. And so we do deep dives. I've done money DNA, relationship DNA. This one was, the last one was elevating your money mindset. And then this one was carrying it a step forward. It was beyond just elevating. And I cannot for the life of me remember exactly the title of what it was that I did. But basically what I do is we have a look at, so in this particular arena, say it's money, say it's relationships, what are yours like? Where do you find that you're stuck? What would you like it to be like? Because that's the most important. Here's how it is. And that's the result of everything that came before you. But how do you want it to be? Because that's going to be the result of you and everything that comes after you. And so I use 3D, highly experiential, interactive pieces for people to go from where I am to what's possible within an hour to an hour and a half and completely begin to rewire the neural pathways and rewire the body and rewire the head, heart, gut system. So now you're sitting with a completely different perception of life and your possibility within it.
And the direction you want to go in.
And absolutely the direction you want to go in. Yeah.
So have you stumbled upon some people who are very, very stuck and it's taken longer than usual for them to get it or accept it or want to move through it? I mean, are we talking 5 months, 6 months, years for some people?
It really depends. But here's the thing that's so important for people to know. If you're stuck, the chances are good that you're defending a pattern. You may not know it, but you're taking care of a pattern in the family system. And you're unconsciously loyal to that pattern. And it's only when you start to look at what it is that you deeply, deeply desire instead of where you're stuck that it moves. So when you create a goal that is bigger than where you're stuck, it'll move you past all of those defenses, all of the excuses, and all the way over to where it is that you want and dream of being. And you will get there.
Right, because we often will defend our parents or grandparents, right, the generations in the past, because they did really well. They got us to where we are today. Say you're the third generation or fourth generation. And I guess maybe not wanting to offend anyone because of all their hard work. But it is definitely, I understand that there are issues with hanging on to your past or one's past.
Your negative past.
Right, yes, because
Or
those are the
limiting
things
past.
that are can be suffocating and we maybe
Right.
don't know it.
Exactly right. And yet it's so interesting because it can feel like the system is pulling you back, the family system, and yet what it deeply needs and desires is to push you forward. Because the more you grow, the more it grows. Always. The more you borrow from your imagination, the more you're foraging in the quantum field, which means you're growing your system at the same time.
Is this all science to you? Is it spirituality? What are the parameters, if any?
I would say the answer is yes. So yes,
So do I. I say that's a good answer.
Yeah, it is grounded in science, epigenetics for sure, and then neuroscience, both of those. with neuroscience, it's teaching you that you can consciously create the life that you choose by consciously laying down neural pathways, which will bring into focus what you desire. So you're not going to have your mind wandering off like a squirrel. It's going to keep you focused on what it is that you want. Epigenetics, two ways. One is you hear your mother say, you hear your mother's mother say, you hear your mother's mother's mother say, and so this becomes the norm for you. But in epigenetics, if there is an event, a triggering event for you that has enough sustained emotion, that can create an imprint on your genetic coding and how it's expressed. And that is a really strong thing to have. If it's been terrifying, you will find that there are elevated PTSD markers, and those are measurable. Those have been tested, they've been studied, it's there. But you can also plant elevated positive markers, which means suddenly you start to see generations of success and elevation happening because somebody has held that space and created that imprint solidly enough for it to take effect in subsequent generations.
Wow.
So those are your science pieces.
Oh my gosh. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Spirituality-wise, yeah, because, and I told you I love Disney. If you look at something like Frozen, or you look at something like Encanto, it's telling you, you're the magic. It's not somewhere else. It's you. You're it. You're the Imagineer. You're the one who can make it happen. You're the creator of what's possible. You're it.
You're it. And why do we let other voices, other generations infiltrate our heart and our brain and maybe suppress us? Why do we do that?
Because we were raised in just about every religion on earth to believe that we were born into sin, we should try and muddle along and see if we can die nicely so that we can get seat L34 at the top with whatever your God is. That's what we were taught. It's not the truth.
No, and your mother didn't teach you that, so that's even better.
She did not.
Yay, Shirley. Oh my goodness, I knew this was going to be exciting. Judy Wilkins Smith, I thank you so much for joining us on Should Have Listened to My Mother.
It's such fun to spend time this way and to talk about making magic. And our mothers are amazing.
Mothers are amazing, and things can change, and people can change, and we're just helping spread the word.
And every single gift your mother ever gave you was meant for you because it grows you the way that you can be and only you can be. Don't forget it, even when the gift doesn't look great.
Oh, that's so important. I'm glad we got that in there, too. Thank you. Judy Wilkins Smith, her new book, The Hidden Power in Your DNA. Well, that's a 2024 release. She's promised she's got another one coming out this year in 2025. I'm Jackie Tantillo, and we will be back next week with another episode of Should Have Listened to My Mother.